Again, thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of 295,000 active and retired letter carriers and the 3 other postal unions, the APWU, the Rural Letter Carriers, and the Mail Handlers Union. We commend the committee for introducing H.R. 756 and Representatives Lynch and McKinley for introducing H.R. 760, a bill that would greatly improve the way the Postal Service's trust fund for retiree health benefits is invested. This morning, I will focus my remarks on the Postal Reform Bill. Please see my written testimony to see why we support the Lynch-McKinley bill. By introducing H.R. 756, the leadership of this committee has set a standard for bipartisan cooperation on legislation that should be emulated. The bill has broad support across the mailing industry, including business and labor, and is based on best practices in the private sector. Bipartisanship on postal reform makes sense, given that the Postal Service is based in the Constitution and operates independently without taxpayer funds. It is vital to our national economic infrastructure. We serve every community, every household, and every business in America at least 6 days a week. At 84%, few organizations have higher public favorability rating than the Post Office, and no other agency engenders a greater sense of trust. In the age of e-commerce, vote by mail, and mail-order prescription drugs, it's more important than ever. There is broad agreement among all the major stakeholders that legislation is urgently required to strengthen the Postal Service. Our coalition of stakeholders believes that the 2 bills introduced last week have the essential elements needed to stabilize and fortify the Postal Service for years to come. Over the past decade, postal employees have worked diligently to restructure operations, cut costs, and sharply increase productivity in response to technological change and the Great Recession. Despite the loss of more than 200,000 jobs, we've managed to preserve our networks and to maintain our capacity to serve the nation. But only Congress can address our biggest financial challenge, the unique and unsustainable burden to pre-fund future retiree health benefits decades in advance. No other enterprise in the country faces such a burden, which was imposed by legislation in 2006. The expense of this mandate has accounted for nearly 90% of the Postal Service's reported losses since 2007. Without a change in the law, the mandate will cost $6 billion this year alone. H.R. 756 would maximize the integration of Medicare and our federal health program for Medicare-eligible postal annuitants, most of whom have already voluntarily enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B. The proposal would also give us access to low-cost prescription drugs and other benefits provided to private employer plans by the Medicare Modernization Act. The savings would help to reduce all of our premium costs and therefore pre-funding costs. This approach adopts the standard practice of large private companies that provide retiree health insurance. It would effectively resolve the pre-funding burden that undermines the health of the Postal Service while only raising Medicare spending by 0.1% over 10 years. H.R. 756 also addresses a revenue shortfall caused by the expiration of the 2013 exigent rate increase authorized by the Postal Regulatory Commission to help the Postal Service recover from the permanent decline in mail volume caused by the Great Recession. The compromise adopted by your leadership bill, effectively restoring half of the exigent increase, is a reasonable one. Mr. Chairman, your bill effectively deals with the 2 core issues that must be addressed: the unaffordable pre-funding mandate and the expiration of the exigent increase, and it does it in a way that meets the budget scoring rules of the Congressional Budget Office. All 4 postal unions urge the committee to adopt this legislation. We pledge to work with all of you and our broad coalition of mailing industry partners to achieve postal reform this year. Together, we can strengthen a great national institution, and even better, we can show the country that it is still possible to make our democracy work for the common good at a time of great partisan polarization. Thanks again for inviting me to testify today.
Thank you. I love your passion for it. And not many people get choked up on postal reform, so we appreciate your passion there. And
it's in the blood.
there you go. Thank you. Thank you very much.